If everybody could please take their seats, we're about to begin our second set. Welcome back, everybody, to Piqued. And now I'd like to bring to the stage Yate. Yate, everybody.
Thank you.
Josh, thanks so much for playing tonight.
Thank you. This was super rad to be able to come out and play tonight. So thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. Tell us a little bit about how you prepared your set for tonight.
I did an Instagram story asking people if I should bring a plant tonight, and pretty much everyone said I should bring a plant. So other than that, I like the idea that, or I should say, like, my music really isn't classically, like, I'm classically trained or anything. It's just the idea, like, what do I want to convey? So I had a really good day at work. I've had a really interesting week, and so I just wanted to convey music that, like, showed that, I don't know, confusion in the mix. So
I get a lot of video game influences from your set. Is that a correct feeling?
I think what's funny is, like, it's turned out that way, where previously I don't think I really stepped into that. But a lot of my music is based on nostalgia. It's based on things that I've felt in the past or past experiences. And so the sounds that I generate are kind of childlike in that way. But I think because of some of the tools that I use, like the OPZ and the OP1, you get a lot of these, like, kind of chiptune-esque or very restricted sounds based on what you've loaded them with. And so the OPZ especially, it just kind of caters itself to this very NES, Super NES, these, like, video game feelings and everything. And I think even with that last song, it's very much like that Transylvania meets, you know, Dungeons of Legend of Zelda. So, you know, and those are two of my favorite games, so.
Yeah, I get the feeling very much. But it's great because I can hear it, but it's beyond, 8-bit or 16-bit. It's beyond, it goes all the way to 24-bit.
Yeah. I think what's great about the OPZ is that it has this sequencer built in. But for me, since I don't play like a piano, that's exactly how I have to make my music. Like, I need the kind of those restrictions. And so once I have, like, that basic melody down, then the job becomes like, okay, how do I destroy this? Like, how do I add enough into this to where it no longer sounds like it was controlled with the sequencer? Like, you still have, that syncopation, but there's elements that are, don't follow anyone else's rhythm and everything. So.
And tell us a little bit about the plant. Tell us.
Yeah.
How's that reacting into your set?
Yeah. I love that plant. It's been with me for a while. But the MIDI Sprout has been probably one of my favorite things that I have in my arsenal. Like, next to my OP1 is MIDI Sprout. And then the idea is just, like, for me, like, I'm a very spiritual person. And, I go to church, and, like, I just believe that this planet is more than just an accident. And, like, science and faith and all of these things collide. And so for me, that's faith. Like, that's proof of it. Like, watching science do its thing. Like, this plant is growing in this container. As you saw, we added water to it, and just, like, it's so rad, And so I don't want my experience ever to just be limited to what I can do. And to me, adding a plant, adding that element of mystery, that element of, like, whoa, what's going to happen? Like, there's many times during that set where I was like, you are not saying anything right now, and you're embarrassing me in front of my friends and the internet, So you gave it a little pinch, and then the next thing you know, it's like chiming in all the time. And so even from that point, then by adding water and just hearing it come to life, that excites me. And I would, sacrifice music and, any kind of, like, melodic value to be able to share that experience with everyone.
Do you see the plant as a musician itself instead of a tool?
Fully. I was actually joking, I think, with you and Dylan earlier. Like, if my set went to trash, I was just going to blame the plant. The plant's name is Alice. Alice would have been the problem. But yeah, I think in the same way you go to band practice, when you plug this plant in, you're saying, okay, bring me something. Give me what your pulse is for the day, and I'm going to work with that. I'm going to try to harmonize with that experience. So yeah.
It's fascinating. It really is.
It's wild. I still very much so, like getting used to this idea that it's like, okay, I'm just gonna let you feed, and like you probably saw it, like I'll let it feed things into the OPZ or the OP1, whatever I'm using, and then I go back and edit it as I go. But it's really just like for the most part, I'm not adding anything to it note-wise. It's just like, no, this is your show. I'm just, I'm the supporting act. So,
That's a great approach. I really like that style.
thank you.
And I'd like to open up the audience to some questions. Yes. The question was, what's the effect of watering the plant?
Yeah, so I was talking to someone, I actually met someone on BART because I had a plant with cables coming off of it. So as you would expect, I would make a friend or two. And she asked that very question, like, what effect does watering it or, changing the environment around it does? And we can take that to our body, like when you have that first sip of water after you haven't drank water in a long time, you feel that like from the head to the toe. I haven't watered this plant as regularly as I should. Don't tell anyone. But, I think what happens in that case is, the roots themselves then receive that water in. And so you're getting like that signal sent from the root of the plant up into the stems and everything. And so it just like excites the plant. And so that's why we heard like, the notes went from that very like do-do-do-do-do to like chords almost, because the plant was just like, oh, finally, like, don't do this to me again. Like I like to think of the plant as saying that, where it's just like, water me more often. Like, what are you thinking, This is probably why I'm single, but, like I talk to my plants way too much. But yeah, that's the idea, where it's like by watering it, if I had like brought a spotlight, moving a light onto a plant and taking it off, if the plant was outside, the stimuli of noise, all of these different things, just like they affect our body, affects plants as well.
Is Alice react differently to different styles of music you've exposed her to?
Yes, I would say that if the plant, Alice, if she comes into contact, they, I don't know yet. If it comes into contact with like external music, like let's say I'm just playing something syncopated off the radio or whatever, the notes are more pronounced, like it almost, and don't quote me on this because there's no science to back this. This is totally hearsay, and I will refute this except for the fact that it's on the internet. Like, it kind of like almost picks up parts of it, but it's not in any way, shape, or form like trying to sing along, but it kind of is, Versus if I just like have my speakers up in my room playing loudly, then it just like seems to keep doing the same thing over. But I don't know, that's also just what my experience has been.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions from the audience about Yate or Alice? Yes, Marcus.
What inspired you to go down this particular path?
The question was, what inspired you to go down this particular path?
Sure. For me, I hear music all the time, and I try to recreate it with success or without. And so, because for me, like music is a discovery process, it's like, what am I hearing today? What am I experiencing today? I look for tools that allow me to kind of share that experience. And so with MIDI Sprout especially, it became this thing where it's like, okay, walking from the BART to here to me is like a sensory experience. Like if my body was plugged into something, I imagine the notes would have been all over the place. And so I just get a kick out of that idea that like, what we do matters and what happens to the planet matters. And I just hope like, not to go too far down that path, but like, I really hope that that helps people realize like, be conscious of what you intake, be conscious of what environment you put your body into, If it's mattering to a plant, I'm pretty certain it also matters to us.
That's very nice. Do you have any other questions? Yes.
What compositional techniques are you trying to get?
And the question was, what compositional techniques are you using?
Or like trying to learn more about?
Or trying to learn more about?
None. I will say that every piece of music, every body of work I've done has been different than the last. I just recently put a song out called Elated, and I made it 2 or 3 years ago, and I was using at the time an OP1 and Ableton Push, you know? So it was very controlled, it was very, you know, rhythmic and like lined up to every bar and all of that, you know? However, the first things I put out onto Spotify were all made in modular. In fact, I met most of you guys here when I was still making modular. And during that time, there was no, you know, it was all, you know, no holds bar. It was very much so just like, cool, press record. Whoa, okay, let's go down this path, you know? So I think my composition style is just like, I'm walking down a path with a flashlight, and if something is shiny, I follow it. I sound so ridiculous, but I tell you, like, this is it. Like, you know, I mean, like, I try to be very honest about the process. Like, I've started with, you know, all of these tools to make very classical, like, techno or, you know, hip hop or whatever it was, and I realized that's not my passion. Like, my passion is just to make music. And so it's, you know, when I say that word discovery, that's what it is. It is, you know, it is a flashlight. It is a shiny item, and saying, I want more of this. So
That's exactly what we find in every video game.
you're welcome.
Do you have any other more questions tonight? No. Yes.
You slimmed down your setups a lot since I first saw you. So was that by intent for like mobility reasons, or is it just because the limitation brings you down a certain path?
So I'll read the question a little bit as you've slimmed down your set to when we originally saw you playing modular, and what's the process to slimming it down to very minimal?
Great question, and I'm glad it came up. So I preach very heavily, like, buy what you need, buy what, you know, you need to make your music, buy what you hear in your head. And so when I very first got back into the act of making music, I had a million boxes. I had Volcas, I had, you know, the things from Roland, I had like a Moog, you know, like I just kept buying and reforming, and it's just, now my idea is just like, I don't ever want to get into a space where I'm collecting, you know, like I just simply want to make music. And in order for me to do that, I have to restrict the tools I have. So that turned from, you know, like I had it all, you know, I was in a band, I had a Moog, you know, the sub 37, I was like, oh yeah, boop-de-bop-bop. And then I was like, this doesn't bring me joy, not to go down that path or anything, but like, you know, and then I just whittled down to the OP1, which is where I started, you know, shout out to OP1 and Chill, my crew. I came back down to that because I made the funnest music, I made the things that I loved, the things that made me happy with that one device. I had a great friend, Simon, who let me use his Norns, and from that point, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this device is so ridiculous in that it can do everything, but it also, you know, like, there's nothing written on it, so you're free to just kind of explore with it. I was like, okay, this is an appropriate tool for me to use. And the same thing with the OPZ, you know, it's a little bit more controlled, but still, it's right there. It's tangible, it goes, you know, the portability aspect is that I like to, you know, I think we all have that idea of like, oh, I want to play out in the park somewhere, or, you know, any of that. I just want to play where I want to play, you know? And if the mood comes up and I'm on vacation, great. I've got battery-powered devices that can do that. That part is almost secondary to this idea, though, of just like hearing it and then controlling the space in which you can create it. Your sandbox, if you will.
Very nice. And do we have any other questions tonight? Yes, Dylan.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about the norms and what it's doing and how you set
Oh,
that
man.
So the question was, tell us a little bit more about the norms.
Yeah, so Norns is a fantastic, wonderful little box from Monome. And Simon once described it just as like a sound computer. And I think if you think of like the organelle and how you can like add your own patches to it, and then, you know, you can control, like create your music through that. I think Norns tries to create that kind of space, but with the idea that, you know, it's less, there's less form around it. I use about 1% of what it can do, and that's an MLR. And what MLR does is, you send sound into it, and it allows you to take whatever that little recording chunk it made, that sample it created, and pitch it up, pitch it down, reverse it, and so on, and then even slice that piece up. To me, that just is so pleasing, just in how it, creates those little noises that I just am like, I'm sold. So it's like clouds, yes. I love clouds. No, I don't. It's okay.
I do.
Use what you have.
Do we have any other questions tonight? No, I think we're going to wrap it up tonight. Josh, thank you so much for your performance tonight.
Thank you again for letting me play.
It was a
Thank you all
treat.
for coming.
Absolute treat.